everybody with Witt and Cam. Witt and Cam. Listen to the funny, peculiar podcast.
Welcome to another Funny Peculiar podcast, and this is my last Edinburgh Special. I recorded this about 3 weeks ago, live from the Fringe. So if you are listening anything after August 2018, forget it. There's no Fringe there. It's all packed up and gone away until next year. But I did manage to grab these two ladies for an interview. They had a double act, a musical comedy double act called Witt and Camp. They were absolutely brilliant. I saw the show, and they are Charlie Howitt and Holly Campbell. Now you can follow them on Facebook on the name Witt and Camp, which is WITTN Camp, and they're on Twitter as that name as well. So track them down, and I'm sure they'll be touring the show or doing lots more. They got great reviews from the festival. But anyway, they were very gracious, and you just heard them do the ident for the show. So thank you very much for doing that. It was early on a Monday morning when I caught up with them. I think they were like 4 or 5 shows in, and so it was very good of them to agree to do the interview. So without further ado, let's go over and chat to Witt and Camp. Hello to Witt and Camp, which is Charlie and Holly. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, and it is good morning, because thank you for coming down, because 11:30, that is early in Edinburgh. So.
Well, I mean, we've actually last week had to get up at 7 for 2 mornings in a row, which was painful, so this feels like luxurious.
This is a proper line. This is serious.
Because the thing, everybody, I walked out, it's very quiet on the streets. Well, I came in about 10 o'clock on the train, it's very quiet in the streets. And how the show's been going?
Yeah, they've been going really good. We've been working on the show for about 18 months, like sort of discovering what kind of show we wanted to make and then honing it over time and things. But we've never been able to do like consecutive nights. Like it's been 2-night run here, 2-night run there, 3-night run there. And usually, like, at least half of them, some technical thing has gone horribly wrong, which is like a very musical show, is usually a memory we hold at the end of it.
Indeed, yeah.
But this has been a dream.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, well, especially, I mean, the Assembly guys and our wonderful techie have been fabulous. So it's lovely to go on stage and now have what is our sort of final version of Swag, having worked on it for 18 months, and, like, know that there's not going to be, the lights won't just like go out.
Yeah. That has happened.
That's really nice.
The lights have gone out, the stage has collapsed literally underneath me. We've had some really bizarre things happen.
But you split up when I saw you, and you came off stage and you were walking down after change, and you said, "Oh, we had this go wrong, and I said, no one noticed. I never noticed. And I get that sometimes when you go through a performance. So when something happens like that, are you covering for it? You obviously carry it on, but do you think, oh, this is terrible, but no, I'm saying this, nobody will notice, but it does affect you as a performer?
If it's technical things, that's always a bit frustrating, but actually, like, when we... I was about to swear. I'm a natural.
You swear if you want?
I was about to say, when we sort of fuck up stuff, like, it's actually like sort of a gift in disguise. Like more in comedy, I think, than anything else. But we actually, because we like to be so polished with our show, we don't like anyone to ever know stuff's gone wrong. So like, if an audience member does something crazy, it's always fun to be like, oh, let's run with that. Yeah. But if it's like, I've walked on without an essential prop, that's happened. That's happened. Like, there's always just like both of us have this like inner monologue, inner duologue going on. Like, how are we going to fix it? And we're both. I'm quite impressed. Like, we've got good silent communication skills, so we make it work.
Yeah.
Because you're a double act, and so you do need to be. Do you find you are becoming intuitive to each other's needs, whatever's going on? Do you both have signs, secret signs, if something's missing?
I just had a flashback to the other night. There was milk. At the end of the show, there's like sort of Banksy police kissing kind of montage, and there was meant to be like this. It's too weird to explain, but there was meant to be a milk bottle that would be like, we kiss for a bit and then this milk bottle comes out. And earlier in the show we realised, oh god, the milk's not there. So in front of the whole audience, Holly just like ventriloquist out the side of her mouth, just goes, Charlie, just keep kissing. I'm just gonna keep. And that was the most overt use of...
We don't have sign language. I think also because we live together and have been besties for like 6 years. Okay. It's a lot of it's quite intuitive. As in, I feel like I know what Charlie's going to do.
We know the...
Which is helpful. So when stuff goes wrong, it's either like, let's just see what happens, and it's a fun game. And also it's quite nice and just feeling like we've got each other's backs as well. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And so, and obviously there's so much competition in Edinburgh. double acts, and it's great chatting to you because there's not many, as I've seen around the festival, female double acts.
Not too many, no.
Not too many. So when did this all come about, Witt and Campbell? So this is something you've been working on for 18 months. So where did take us
18
back?
18 months ago, it was an accident. Like we didn't know we were going to be doing this. So it was sort of. So we trained as actors together at East 15 acting school and. Sort of.
So where's that? So East 15. Where's the?
It's like.
So this is in London. So you met in London.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a bit generous. It's like
it's Essex.
It's Loughton. Yeah. But I suppose technically it's on the Central Line, so London connected. But we trained together, and it was like a really intense year. But we didn't really know each other that well at the end of the year, but sort of thought fondly of each other and thought.
So this was a year's acting course you were doing, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at the end of it, the people I were living with all went off to live with their boyfriends and that, and I was like, don't have anyone to live with. And
I was also in a similar situation, and we're like, shall we just?
We didn't really know each other very well at all, and we didn't have any money or know how to get jobs or anything like that. So we were like trying to look for the cheapest option. So we ended up sharing a 1-bedroom flat for a year.
Okay.
I got
like a sex rota and everything.
We had to make a sex rota. There was like no personal space whatsoever, and it was like a crash course in like getting to know each other, I would say.
But it worked. I mean, it's bonded us for life.
We've upgraded, so we now each have a bedroom.
Yeah,
so that's
and
good.
it's wonderful.
You're progressing in show business.
But it kind of just then like about 2 years ago.
Sorry, just to say, so you were both. So we just you'd done the acting course. So, but did you find you were then? Saying, oh well, I like that comedy routine. I like this.
We had no idea we were into comedy then. No, it was we did the kind of just jobbing actor gig, working in Harrods and selling designer handbags and all that sort of crap like that. I was working with. I have another theatre company, and I was doing a lot of playwriting and. We were sort of just doing like the serious acting, and kind of reached a point where we were just getting a bit tired of that side of the theatre world, like not, and especially because I mean not West End, but like fringe theatre. It can be a very insular kind of world, and there's certainly a time to like rail against society and like really passionate projects, and I'm all for that. But we kind of we cracked each other up as friends so much, and our friendship was just blossoming, and like having that kind of much laughter in the day and joy. Kind of we started singing HipOpera's opera just as like a joke for us. It was just like a party trick.
Now, these are some of the so just to explain to people listening, so some of the characters in the show. Well, there's the three main ones that I saw. There was the sort of vixen burlesque sort of singers at the start.
Vixens, I'll take that.
Is that about? Tell me if I'm wrong in any.
No, that's a
so.
great word.
We've had glamazons, vixens, works too.
There we go. So we had, and then we had these opera singers, sort of these embittered warring opera singers that are doing hip hop lyrics, but it's very operatic, and you have both beautiful voices. So have you trained as well? You sound
not
very
classically, no,
not classically trained. It was more we found in our living room it was just really fun to make fun of opera because it's a really freeing thing to do. With the greatest respect to people. We're not saying we sound like opera singers, but it came out of like just a really joyous joke of us one day just sitting down with a whiskey going, should we make a hip hop song into an opera? That'll be fun. And like from there, just
it became a challenge to out opera each other. And that's true. I think that's where like the first seed of like we did it. Like we had like mates over for parties, and it was the sort of thing at like 3 a.m. Like the guitar would come out, and then we'd be like, guys, we've got this really stupid thing. And our mates said it was just hilarious, and they kind of encouraged us to do it at variety night. So it was truly like an accident. Like we never thought we'd be a comedy act or fall into it, but we did it, and we were terrified. But then actually people thought it was hilarious, and we were like, that's really fun.
Yeah, it was really encouraging. And then we kind of just went like, let's make some more, but we then were like, let's do the vault. Do you know the vaults in London?
Festival.
Vault Festival. It's just underneath Waterloo. It's a fabulous festival, and for 6 weeks.
Okay, no, I've not heard of that one. So it's called the Vault Festival.
Yeah.
And what's that about?
So that's like almost like a mini Edinburgh.
And it's
incredible.
Amazing.
I mean, like it's such a great platform for artists because I mean it doesn't cost money to do it.
They don't need money up front,
like,
and it's for about 5 years it's been going. But I mean, they've gone. It's just grown. Snowballed in like a really amazing way, but we did that in 2017 just as we're enjoying this, people are encouraging us, shall we try and make a show? And so February 2017 I would say was when Witt and Campbell was like properly born, because we kind of presented a bunch of like work in progress stuff as a show, and went, we love this. That's not a show though. We've got to keep working and work out what we're trying to do, because it was sort of cabaret but sort of sketch, and actually we're not really into sketch that much as artists, but obviously you can see some of our work tailors to that scene potentially, but that was our starting point, I'd say. Yeah, we owe lots of Alt Festival, I think, as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're incredible. Like, it was such a good platform to...
And how long was the show? So at that point you were doing the opera singers...
It was an hour,
The first
actually.
3 numbers were basically there.
Yeah.
The first Witt and Camp jazzy number, then Nicki Minaj performed as opera, and these sort of depressed Irish folk singing chickens.
Yes, but now that
we had those.
The Irish, and then we get, just to explain to people, and then we have these the chicken lady, basically two very depressed Irish chickens that are quite jealous of the cock, the main cock, who's called Steve. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
He's there.
And where did that come from?
That came, I think, out of... There was a curiosity of, like, exploring stuff as a creature. Like, there's some stuff... It wasn't about, we want to talk about serious things, therefore we can't. But there's something that happens if you talk about, like, a serious subject, but you're, like, dressed as a chicken.
Yeah.
It's a very different thing from going, let's talk about it as a human being.
Yeah.
So it kind of came out of that, also, like, wanting to explore different genres of music as well. And just sitting down one day and then going, oh, they're chickens, obviously.
Like,
obviously.
the day we realised they were chickens, because we were like, it was in that kind of like, you know, downtrodden, like, misogyny weight on them kind of thing, and we were like, well, yeah, I mean, chickens, there's like 20 of them, and they all have to shag the same cock, don't they? There's one cock and 20 chickens, and they just have to lay eggs all day, and
it's not fair.
Like, it just seemed like a kind of fun metaphor, and the more chicken puns you can work into a script, the better.
Well, and also because you've got you have the folksy music. So each part of the show, just to explain to people that we have the sort of burlesque at the start. We've got the chickens and we've got the opera. So each sort of section is a song, or it's a group of songs that flow together. So it's a very lyrical show. So is it difficult how the voice is holding up with day 4, day 5? You're on the medicated strepsils. I heard that earlier. How does that hold up with the singing and keeping your voices in tune and staying fit for that?
I think generally, actually, when it comes to the singing, we feel like we're actually, as in physically, quite strong. It's more the stuff around, because we haven't done the Fringe before. It's more the like flying and talking for 5 hours.
Yeah.
I think that's the challenge. Meet the Media was a
nail
struggle.
in the coffin currently today, because we had to stand in a massive hall with like hundreds of people and talk to press, being like, over the table, just giving the pitch of the show. That, and because we're both sort of waking up at the same hours and doing the same stuff, we've got the same kind of...
Just tell us about Meet the Media, because I've never been through that. So is it literally there's just a big hall and you've got to stand? They did it with the England football team in a really weird way. They had each player on a chair and it looked like they were doing this strange festival of blokes in sportswear. And they just sent the media in. So were you just, every act was placed around the edge of the room, and then the media flood in, and then they just come...
That would have been like that would sound
that would
like
have been brutal.
Kids being picked for basketball in school. No, it was the opposite. So they were sat at tables.
Oh, right, and
so there were 12 publications with a bunch of them from each of them, and then we got there early. We brought our own chairs and queued from 9 a.m.
Very much recommended.
So we were in there first. So we did actually get out quite quickly, but we had to. They sort of let 500 people in, and they all queue up in front of the different publications, and then you go and give like a 3-minute pitch, and then the next person rocks up. So it's absolutely mad. But I think they've already done most of their. They had their press releases months ago. This is just like an extra thing.
Right, okay.
And then they'll obviously have gaps for stuff when they hear word of mouth. They'll book them in. But it's just an extra thing, and because we are at a really great time slot in a great venue, but up against like the big hitters at 8 p.m. It's just we're just trying to get the media's attention.
What's your USP? What were you saying to them? What made you a bit different? Was there a certain line, certain words you were saying, or just please come as what was?
Oh yeah, no, there was no please come see my show. Moved away from that, thank God. But no, it's just like a really wild, outrageous comedy. Something that's really playful with genre, so it smashes musical theatre with cabaret, and there's feminist burlesque in it, and there's. It's just like a way of bringing audiences together just an outrageously joyful time, because it's not that there's not politics in the show, but actually, like, as artists, we're really passionate about making comedy that doesn't exploit or make fun of anyone. It can be just a time where you don't feel like, oh, if you voted Tory, you're getting poked fun of, or if you're this religion or that race or whatever. Like, that was us just wanting to, as women, just use our sexuality and use our brains and our, you know, go from sexy to hideous in 20 seconds. Yeah. Like, that was sort of things that excited us as artists, and I was like, I kind of want to see, that's the kind of work I want to see, so it's the kind of work we both wanted to make.
Yeah, when we were also kind of talking about, I mean, to different publications, but like talking about how we're trying to take genres like burlesque, which have often been kind of fetishized before, and working out a way to sort of turn it on its head, because
take it back, reclaim
it. Like, it's, so that's been a fun thing as two women to go, how do you do something that's meant to be really sexy and then go, oh no, not sexy anymore, has been a useful thing to kind of talk about to people, because we're excited by that.
Well, it's interesting you say it, because burlesque now is a bit of a resurgence, and I interview a lot of burlesque dancers, and they all have their different sort of styles, but and there is a scene for people that haven't seen it where there is the sort of baby I won't give too much away, but there's sort of breastfeeding involved, but in a burlesque fun way. I'll say that, and it was very, very funny. And again, it was, so this was a way of marking your own, sort of putting a stamp on your style of burlesque. But let's just go back to the vaults. So you'd had 3 songs of the opera singers, and that was more or less it. You were still developing.
No, I mean, there was a whole other show. We just chose to leave it behind.
Yeah.
What bit did you leave behind then?
We left behind probably about 45 minutes. So what you see, the first 3 numbers that you see in the show now, are essentially the same, hopefully just better, because we know the characters better and we're more polished. But the rest of the 45 minutes, we kind of got to After Waltz and we were like,
it was a bit too theatre. We hadn't quite got to grips with like the comedy.
And what was it, just 2 people talking, or...?
No, it was still very much like the narrative of the opera's singers and their rivalry, and like the chickens and their struggle against Steve. But like, it was kind of, I think we just hadn't we'd never made something like this before, and like, we'd never thought of ourselves as comedians, so it was like going, how do you do that and embrace the funny but also make it interesting and captivating, but also like, how do you sew things together? It was very much like, we had one thing, you stop and then change costume and then you do the next thing, and it was very like disjointed.
We were off stage a lot, so you notice in our thing that like neither of us leave, we only leave the stage for like one moment each in the show, like we try and hold that energy for the whole hour.
So it's been kind of working for the last year and a half. How do you get from what was a seed of what was really exciting and fun, but like actually as a show didn't work? How do you like
the swing singing nuns though?
Oh my god, we did
like we had
swing singing nuns.
Yeah, so so it's a similar gag to the opera. That's why we cut it out. But they were these really pious, cute nuns dressed in pink habits, and they sang like Missy Elliott as 1940s kind of swing, wartime swing. And like just completely unaware that the lyrics were just vile, and it was funny, but it was more sketch than like it didn't really tie into the show. Also, for swing, you do need 3 voices. I feel very like we could. You need 3 voices for that.
Yeah,
so
maybe quite so good.
Witt and Campbell do a collab with someone and bring the nuns out someday.
Yeah.
But also, it's been done before as well. You know, what I mean, like nuns singing dirty lyrics. So
it wasn't a very new idea. We realised the time to cut it was when these nuns, for some reason, we thought it would be a good idea in the Vault show, that we went into these massive boxes as one character, and then we changed into these nuns inside the boxes. And then appear out of these boxes as nuns, and we got to the point where we went, okay, we've got 6-foot boxes. I think maybe the nuns need to go.
It was pretty funny because we went in as Witt and Camp as like the sort of fishnets and like attitude. We went in and then came out in like habits, wimples, and I think it was just so random, and it wasn't worth the joke and the time and energy.
But this is what you do for prop comedy, because it is prop comedy as well. That you think, well, we need boxes, we'll just get boxes, and I've done stupid stuff like that. Where you go, why have I just built that for 2 days? But until you do it, you don't know.
We made the philosophy it has to fit into a suitcase and be fringe ready, otherwise the joke's not worth. If you can't tell the story with your body, like you don't need like large bits of cloth. And like we had capes and we had so many props that first Vault show, and we were like, do you know what? We need to actually work out what we're saying, what we're doing first.
When did the director? Who directed the show?
So Hannah Howard King, who, as we said, like we absolute awe of her. She's just wonderful director. very much in the theatre side of things. Like, she's a very feminist director, and like they sort of made a splash in the headlines. Like, their first show, Dry Land, sort of.
Okay.
Had a very controversial abortion scene, and it was all in the papers and this sort of thing. But she's got this sort of other side of her, like the straight sort of theatre play, and then she also is like, but she just loves music, and so for her this was like jumping into this project and all of us putting our passion into it. But she's a newer addition because.
And when did she come on board? When did she see you?
This year,
right? Okay.
So she saw us last year. She programmed us at a lovely place called Live at Zedell in Piccadilly Circus in London. And that was I'd just known her through my playwriting stuff, but she programmed us because she just loved the ideology behind it, and then saw it there. And
but did you also feel that you'd come to a bit of a wall with, you'd got these songs, you'd got these characters, not sure where you were going next, and then did she come on to say, well look, this is the way, or she finessed it for you?
It was more of a like, it's been quite a recent thing. Essentially what we've done like in the past 18 months is we've been doing the show in its different versions. So from Vault 2017 we've kind of done it at Live at Zedell, then done like Brighton, and it's changed in between each of those. We got to a point when it was like probably Christmas, as in Christmas just gone, 2000 and where are we? 2017, thank you. Where we'd known Hannah and chatted to her and been really excited to work with her, but kind of we've put this in front of an audience in its different forms so many times, and it gets to a point where you just need someone on the outside to go,
we
that's
wanted
not
it to be a
working,
slick visual show, and at some point you do need an outside person, but you've got to be really careful picking a director, because also when it's a double act comedy that comes out of your friendship and your unique kind of tastes and stuff. But she had sort of followed, I mean, she was always supporting us and coming to see all our shows, and there'd never been any kind of like, I want to direct you thing. It just kind of came organically. She asked us to do a gala for her theatre company, and we kind of performed 20 minutes, and we worked with her a bit there. It kind of felt like an informal kind of audition for both of us, and then at the end of it, we just loved working with her so much. We were like, do you want to take us to Edinburgh, basically? So she's very much like it's like all the ingredients of the show were always there, but she's come in and helped us smoothen transitions and just like polish up the right bits, and and she's really sometimes you just like, we had a chicken hacker, like just things that like part of me misses it, but there's like some bits where you're just like, you just get attached to these things. It was like we literally just did this absurd dance as a transition.
A chicken hacker.
Yeah, you know what the All Blacks do in rugby. You know, they do like a dance of intimidation, or like it's like a tribal thing.
That sounds good. A chicken hacker.
Hey, we'll show it to you later.
It was great.
It was pretty good, but it was also just one of those things that, like, though it had good comic value, when you look at the art to the show, like it is a manic show, but we want it to be manic in the right ways, and it was a little bit all over the place, in like going here and there, and
so she's come along and helped you edit. The edit process seems to be
helped
key.
us smoothen out the whole piece of it, and like work out how to linger here and what to trim there. So it was a really important thing for us, because you can't
it's been
really
invaluable,
do that.
hasn't it?
And the names are sort of Witt and Camp. Where do those names come from? What's the meaning behind those?
It's our surname smushed together.
Yeah. Oh right,
I'm Howitt and she's Campbell.
Right,
so
okay.
Conveniently, we thought it sounded quite good.
We thought it was like, and wait, to be fair,
because there's so many costume changes. I can see all the different setups you've got, because you've got like a dress that's rolled up into a shorter skirt, or then you've got, and there's eggs deposited around you which we don't see, but and then there's a
pack of cigarettes,
there's
hidden
cigarettes, exactly, the cigarettes,
packed full.
and then and then it's that mad dash off into the side bit to obviously reload to get yourself ready for the and I know exactly, because it's all in that sort of, you've got to get it right, and so how's that been, trying to get all your changes sort of sorted, trying to get that fluid? Have you slowly
it's been tough, but also like it's odd that as we work with Hannah, because the show seems to make more sense, as in just like the flow of it. For Charlie and I think have both found like, well, of course the next bit is this, because it kind of makes sense. There's been some bits when you've got so many masks planted in your hot pants where it gets to a point where if you can't get it out, and there's the moment where you're like, fuck. Trying to get it out on a perfect beat has been a challenge, but like actually it's never
felt more in the body than now. So we're 5 shows in, and it's feeling pretty good.
But it's on the other. It's wonderful to watch your voices as well. So you got the songs. that you do through it are all lovely. It all just is seamless, and it's like, I know you're sort of like going, well, that happened there, and it was a wonderful show. It was seamless. I love your voices. I do love the comedy in it. The chickens, for me, you're winning it with the chickens.
A lot of people love the chickens
because it was that. I think it was because it was a shift down from the sort of the singing from the opera singers and the sort of burlesque fixers, but then in all of this there was these two very depressed Irish chickens, which was wonderful. So it's like, what next do you think for Witt and Camp? Where and you have, so Edinburgh's obviously, I think you're going to have a great Edinburgh. And with Edinburgh, it seems to be about the continuation, that you've got to come back next year, you've got to top that one. Do you think you're going to come back next year? Do you think you're going to write enough show? You're very close, you're really in tune to each other.
Yeah, we'll definitely carry on making work. I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea, I know a lot of comedians feel this way, that like, you have to be at Edinburgh every single year. It's such a massive, like, it takes a year to plan, and it's like we crowdfunded like £5,000 to get here. Like, it was like so much organisation to get here. I think you have to have really concrete things you want out of it if you're gonna come to one of these one of these big venues and do that. So yeah, we want to get the performative experience out of it, but we do want to network and meet promoters and producers, and we ultimately would love to have a run at the Soho Theatre, and we want to continue to. We've got a film company that we work with, and we have a music video out, and so we want to continue to like make work, and we'd love to just carry on the Witt and Camp kind of joyful female comedy kind of brand in sort of different spheres, you know, TV and live theatre, and to tour the work as much as we can while developing a Witt and Camp 2.0. That would be the dream. So we're going to work hard this month and see what seeds we can sow.
Well, I think it's going to happen. It really was. I really did enjoy the show. It was fantastic. There was so much going on. It was witty. It was camp. It had everything. It had chickens. It had the opera singers fighting with each other. So it's like it was
something for everyone.
Something for everyone. It was, and also and again, sitting in shows, I hate audience participation. You were very good on that, and it was only the odd time when you would point to someone in the front row, and I was on the second one. So the earpiece came out. There we go, live. Something like that could happen in the camp there, and then you just picked it. Sometimes you just say to someone, I was like, not me, but it was all very, very.
We're not an embarrass the audience type show. No,
we'll
acknowledge you're there, but we'll never make anyone get up.
And it was. It was fun. You did get that one girl to play the triangle, but I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. She was pretty good.
But we also always love the triangle play. You're never going to be like, you're going to be our favourite if you're the triangle player.
That was
it's okay.
One of the best gags, because obviously when a burlesque dancer approaches something, you think, oh my god, what she's going to get out of it. Of course, I never expected a triangle, a metal instrument triangle, so that was brilliant. Listen, thank you today for coming on the podcast. My one last question I've got to ask you, this is what I do for each episode, because I go, is who do you think I should interview for the podcast next, or in a few weeks, or whenever I can get hold of? Who should I get on the show? Your recommendation.
I reckon. Do you agree with me about Holly Morgan? Holly Morgan is absolutely wonderful. We adore her. She is an amazing sort of, she'd say it's cabaret, but it's sort of theatre cabaret. She's got her show called Madonna or Whore.
Okay.
And they're on here at Assembly.
Well.
Oh yeah, she's mad, and she's joyful, and we just love her. So yeah, catch her show, and have a chat to Holly and say we say hi.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I will track it down. Thank you again, Witt and Camp, who are Charlie Hewitt and Holly Campbell. I think I've got that right, haven't I? I haven't got you. Did I get you?
Close. So close that it's actually not even worth bringing up. It was Howitt and Campbell.
There we go, Howitt and Campbell. It's Witt and Camp, and thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Funny Peculiar. Tune in next week. More great guests.
So, a big thank you to my guests again, Charlie Howitt and Holly Campbell, who are better known as Witt and Camp. Do check out their Facebook page or Twitter, and you'll get them as Witt and Camp. I'm sure they'll be touring and doing loads more. They were absolutely brilliant, a very, very funny show. Anyway, thank you for listening and downloading. Tell a friend, send on a link of the show. We are on Google Play as well, so check it out there, and we're on Spotify, iTunes, all major platforms. So thank you for your support. And just to let you know as well, if you are a little bit sort of want a bit something different in podcasts, I do recommend this podcast, and it's a guy called Cal Halbert, and he does a very, very interesting, funny podcast called Game, Set and Chat. And if you're a tennis fan, you're going to love it. So he covers all the major tennis tournaments, and he interviews people around the tennis industry. So check out Cal Halbert's Game, Set and Chat. I recommend it. Anyway, more to come next week on Funny Peculiar Podcast, and keep it funny peculiar.